3, 2, 1. Yo, what it is, YouTube? It's your boy Nissy coming back with another Bullseye tutorial here today on the channel, coming to a theater near you August 31st. I'm fucking with y'all, but look, Benny the Butcher vocal tutorial, how to get them lo-fi, saucy, modern vocals. Here's the template, here's the gems. Let's not waste no time. Let's get on the grind and see what we can find. Let's go.
Butcher coming, nigga. This ain't my story about rags to riches, more about how I mastered physics. In a game I used to train like Rocky, catching chickens. I was nice, but they was right when they told me that rapper business. I had 10 bands in my stash when I passed over $500,000. Come easy, no good. Don't be surprised I'll last these niggas. It's like they put out a smash and they going in a flash and minute. And then they make tracks and disses like that's gonna add up the digits. They coming, nigga. This ain't my story about rags to riches, more about how I mastered physics. In the game I used to train like Rocky, catching chickens. I was nice, but they was right when they told me that rapper business. I had 10 bands in my stash when I passed over $500,000. Come easy, no good. Don't
Okay, so you guys got an understanding of what we're gonna be doing today. If you guys like this template, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Suggest some more ideas so I can do, you know, your favorite artists and stuff like that, and really go in depth and break down these gems. Also, if you want to get the template, you can check it out in the pinned link down below. And don't forget to also check out the Patreon where we drop those super secret exclusive gems on how to mix rap. So if you guys like my channel, you like the sauce, check out the Patreon. Let's not waste no time. Let's listen to what it sounded like with and without the Benny the Butcher vocal preset. About rags to riches, more about how I mastered physics. In the game I used to train like Rocky, catching chickens. I was nice, but they was right when they told me that rapper business. I had 10 bands in my stash when I passed over $500,000. Come easy, no good. Don't be surprised I last these niggas. It's like they put out a smash and they gone in the flash and minute. Then they make tracks and disses. This ain't my story about rags to riches, more about how I mastered physics. In the game I used to train like Rocky, catching chickens. I was nice, but they was right when they told me that rapper business. I had 10 bands in my stash when I passed over $500,000. Come easy, no good. Don't be surprised I last these niggas. It's like they put out a... Okay, so that's the vocal tutorial that we got here for today. Okay, so the very first thing that I always think about when I look at a guy like Benny the Butcher, I'm thinking about consonants. I'm thinking about a U87 specifically. When I have a rapper like Benny the Butcher or any lyrical type of rapper, a thing that comes to mind is attention to detail. How can I let every single comma, note, and period jump off the page to get the listener a better understanding of the message that a lyricist is trying to, you know, project? So this is something that you always got to understand. There's mumble rappers and then there's lyrical rappers. I think both of them are fire. You know, I grew up with mumble rappers. I think that's just as hard as somebody who's spitting some real shit, which is, that might sound crazy, but making music is all about the feeling. You know, for example, you know, you got to understand humanity. If you saw a caveman on the street and he was like, blah, 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 you feel me? Versus somebody who came up to you and they're like, you know what, I'm mad today. Which one would you believe more? The person who just said the words, or the person who's giving off that feeling, you know, through their emotions, you know, through how they're saying, they're projecting, they're articulating. So that's kind of how I see like making music too. Like I want the music to talk to me, to project a message. It don't matter if a nigga really saying lyrical shit or they're really just expressing themselves. Expression is expression. Just like how I said, if you see a caveman on the street, you gonna understand more the caveman that's acting crazy than the person who's clearly saying their words. So Benny the Butcher is somebody who's very precise with his words, okay? So first thing I went ahead and did is used a little bit of de-esser because, you know, there's going to be some of those sharp or transient type of words that I want to just get under control real quick. First quarter. This ain't my story about rags to riches, more about how I mastered physics. In the game I used to train like Rocky, catching chickens. I was nice, but they was right when they told me that rapper business. I had 10 bands in my stash when I passed over $500,000. Come easy, no good. Don't be surprised I last these niggas. All right, so yeah, that's that first de-esser, kind of like controlling the consonants, kind of controlling the kind of controlling all the saliva and everything like that. And my de-esser is only working when there's S's, when there's, you know, those type of words. You know your de-esser is working a little too aggressively when there's not an S and it's working. So that's always very something to be precautious of. Then I'm using a little bit of tape, and I understand that at first quarter I'm working on my constones. You know, it's kind of like some nails that are a little too long. I'm trying to grind them down before I just completely chop them off. I'm just grinding them down. I'm sawing them down real quick. Now I'm using a little bit of something like the Kramer tape, and we all know that tape, when you push it hard, it has a very natural form of compression, a very natural form of smoothing off the top end. That's what I'm attacking right now. Benny the Butcher's, you know, his high mid energy, his high frequency of his voice. I'm attacking it first with the de-esser. Now I'm doing it with the tape, so I'm smoothing everything out. And of course, I'm using just a little bit of the wow and flutter. I'm getting a little bit of tape compression. The speed is 15 IPS. You know, if I put it on 7.5, it will make the vocal darker, but 15 is just very neutral, and I'm hitting it with a little bit of flux, and the flux is actually the amount of tape compression that you're getting. So this is my first layer of compression right here that I'm doing, and I'm doing it via tape.
This ain't my story about rags the riches, more about how I mastered physics. In the game I used to train like Rocky, catching chickens. I was nice, but they was right when they told me that rapper business. I had 10 bands in my stash when I passed over $500,000. Come easy, no good, don't be surprised I last these niggas. It's like they put out a smash and they gone in the flash and minute. Then they make traction distance like that's gonna add. This ain't my story about rags the riches, more about how I mastered physics. In the game I used to train like Rocky, catching chickens.
Okay, and you guys can see the preset I used right here was 15 IPS de-esser. So sometimes even something like tape can be used as a de-esser. It can be used something where, you know, it kind of smooths out, does the job for you, rather than you having to play around with a de-esser and it's too hard. Maybe you want to try to use a little something like tape on a Benny the Butcher vocal to get things under control just in the very first quarter. After this, I'm always thinking about my nuances, the sliding transitions inside of the words and everything like that. You know, pretty much I feel like at this point, you know, this kind of like this hardness to Benny the Butcher's, you know, vocal still sounds very harsh, still sounds very rough, you know, as this we're kind of on the third plugin. So I use a little something like the low level compression with a very light ratio. The very light ratio lets me sneak into the turtle shell of the Benny the Butcher vocal. So the vocal right now is a very hard thing, right? But now I'm gonna use a little bit of compression just so I can sneak into the shell, you know, where the turtle is at. That's kind of like the sauce of his vocal. So you know, using a light ratio, fast attack, fast release, and what this does is it lets me put my hands into the shell, lets me put my hands into the cookie jar, lets me put my hands into the toy crane, you feel me, and collect all the nuances that I want from Benny the Butcher. So this is pretty much just like a situation where I'm re-molting the vocal using the compression, a very light compression, very light ratio.
This ain't my story about rags the riches, more about how I mastered physics. In the game I used to train like Rocky, catching chickens. I was nice, but they was right when they told me that rapper business. I had 10 bands in my stash when I passed over $500,000. Come easy, no good, don't be surprised I last these niggas. It's like they put out a smash and they gone in the flash and minute. Then they make traction distance like that's gonna add up the digits. They showing fake racks and pictures like that's gonna track.
So I really kind of like this at this point because I'm just trying to tighten up the performance. I'm not necessarily trying to tame no peaks or whatever that means. I'm just really trying to tighten up his performance at this point so it could just sound really solid and really dense. After that, I went with something like a Shep 73. I wanted a smooth EQ for a smooth Benny the Butcher type of vocal, but then of course we know it has the 73, a 1073 has transistors in it. It gives a little bit of buzz, a little bit of bite, a little bit of a little bit of, you know, a dentist appointment to, you know, Benny the Butcher's vocals. So pretty much just pushing the preamp a little bit, you know, cutting out a little bit with the low shove, you know, just doing my little cuts, cutting out a achoo frequency. I heard a little, you know, a little honk honk, you know, car honk resonance. Also boosting the top end just a little bit by 1 dB. And I just love how the top end on the 73 sounds very, very, very articulate. Specifically, not trying to be sparkly, but just articulate, clear and direct and cut and just cut the pitches, the punches, you know, just helping enhance what the lyricist is doing. You know, the lyricist is giving us good lyrics. So what makes lyrics? Words. You feel me? So we got to figure out how we can make these words feel a little bit more tangible, a little bit more real. You know, now the listener could reach out a little bit more. And because the listener could reach out a little bit more, you as an engineer, you're responsible for that. Now they really starting to feel the words even more. So the rapper's spitting dope shit, but you don't want it to be a situation where it's like buried in a forest. You don't want it to be like a lost treasure, the buried underground. You feel me? It's your responsibility as an engineer to see the strengths of a rapper and dig that shit up and just boom, throw it right in front of the audience. So let's look.
This ain't my story, but I raised the riches, more about how I mastered physics. In the game, I used to train like Rocky, catching chickens. I was nice, but they was right when they told me that rapper business. I had 10 bands in my stash when I passed over $500,000. Come easy, no good. Don't be surprised I outlast these niggas. It's like they put out a smash and they going in a flash and minute. Coming, nigga. This ain't my story, but I raised the riches, more about how I mastered physics. In the game, I used to train like Rocky, catching chickens. I was nice, but they was right when they told me that rapper business. I had 10 bands in my stash when I passed over half.
So yeah, just give me a lot of that analog tone that I like a lot. And then after that, we had a C4. On the C4, we're using pop vocal preset. Of course, I love this because this just makes it sound so mainstream, and also kind of is boosting the nuances. Fast attack, fast release on that high mid, kind of having the high mid be like a jumping jack, kind of having all the start jumping up and down like on a trampoline or something like that. Now it's really starting to pop out, but dynamically, versus where EQ, it would be a little bit more stagnant. You feel me? But this, now using a multi-band compressor like this, is making it a little bit more dynamic. It's making his flow kind of jump out a little bit more. So that's what I like to use multi-band compression for.
This physics, in the game I used to train like Rocky, catching chickens. I was nice, but they was right when they told me that rapper business. I had 10 bands in my stash when I passed over $500,000. Come easy, no good. Don't be surprised I outlast these niggas. It's like they put out a smash and they gone in the flash and minute. Then they make tracks and distance like that's going.
It's kind of like a situation of a yo-yo. Without the C4 multi-band compression, you kind of feel like it's a yo-yo that you throw and it just goes down. It doesn't bounce back or something like that. You know what I mean? I like this C4 a lot because it's kind of like I'm throwing it and it's coming back. It's throwing it, I'm throwing it and it's coming back. It's coming back. You know, I want it to jump in front of you and back and forth. That's what makes it feel a little bit more 3D. You feel me? You don't need analog hardware for that shit. You can understand it with that mindset, understand how to use compression, how to use EQ, how to use saturation to smoothen things out, to make it jump at you. You're kind of like a movie director when you're an engineer with the vocals. Like, okay, do I want to change the scene, or do I want to, you know, make the credits come in, or do I want to, you know, kind of give them a jump scare or whatever like that? You know, that's what you can do as an engineer. You know, it's a very beautiful thing, you know, I'm trying to tell you ass. And after that, we have the REQ kind of giving me a little tonal balance with Benny the Butcher at this point. You know, I know Benny the Butcher's voice, it has a really nice low mid New York, you know, halal trucks and, you know, dollar pizza type of, you know, shout out to everybody in New York, man. I've been to New York. I love New York. It's a cool place. I feel like everybody in music has an environmental advantage. You feel me? So you just got to figure out what your advantage is. For example, with me, my advantage is very clear to everybody that, you know, I'm from South Florida. I'm from like near Miami. I'm from Fort Lauderdale, but I grew up around a lot of races of people like Spanish, Mexicans, Dominicans, Puerto Ricans, Jamaicans, Bahamas. So as I was learning, Brazilians too, as I was learning growing up, like being around all these different types of races of people, I kind of inherited like adapting to different cultures and stuff. So that's how I could come on YouTube and I could start doing all these different voices and all that stuff like that so accurately, because that's literally my advantage. That's where I grew up from. I feel like people in New York, they have the advantage over a lot of people because they know how to mix some to cut through. You feel me? Because in New York, there's a lot of stuff going on, a lot of foot traffic, a lot of subways, you feel me? Like a lot of hey taxis, and it's a lot of stuff, you know, like halal trucks, people grilling up food, and that stuff is going on too. It's a lot of stuff. The subway, people getting out the bus. It's a lot of shit going on in New York. So people from New York, they know how to mix to make stuff cut through because that's their environmental advantage. Somebody from a rural area, from the middle of nowhere, obviously they're gonna have an advantage over most people because they literally grew up in a area that was wide open. So it's gonna be easy for them to make a mix sound wide open because that's where they grew up from. So that's the thing about being an engineer. You gotta figure out what is your environmental advantage. You feel me? Like everybody got their own advantage. People from California, they know how to make that bass ride because literally that's how California is. Like that's how the buildings is and shit like that. Like if you go to California, the way the buildings are and stuff like that, like it's perfect for lowriders. And that's why I feel like everybody from California with their music, they just know how to make it sound so smooth because it's the Bay Area. That's what a beach is. That's what it does, you know, when it's a lot of, you know, humidity or like kind of like a beach air. You know, what happens is the high frequencies start to get soft and stuff like that. So that's why, you know, everybody from everywhere got their own advantage. You got to figure out what it is. But enough blabbering. We're looking at the REQ right now. I just did it to cut out some resonances, whatever.
This ain't my story, but I raised the riches, more about how I mastered physics. In the game, I used to train like Rocky, catching chickens. I was nice, but they was right when they told me that rapper business. I had 10 bands in my stash when I passed over $500,000. Come easy, no good. Don't be surprised I outlast these niggas. It's like they put out a smash and they go.
So yeah, the REQ was kind of really cleaning up the mid-range. We had the RVOCs for Benny the Butcher's vocal. And I might even just stop talking about the RVOCs. We already know what this shit is doing. You feel me? It's adding more presence, more body. And I did a really tight gate on Benny the Butcher's vocal to give a little bit more urgency, a little bit more tone.
I used to train like Rocky, catching chickens. I was nice, but they was right when they told me that rapper business. I had 10 bands in my stash when I passed over $500,000. Come easy, no good. Don't be surprised I last these niggas. It's like they put out a smash and they
just literally have that get at that perfect point where every word ends. Now you start to hear like something's closing. So that's how I see Gates. I see it like a sense of urgency. You know, like Bart Simpson when he was in The Simpsons, and every day like he coming late to the bus and shit like that, and the door is closing. You feel me? Like, and he's trying his hardest to get in there. That's kind of how I see Gates, like a door that's closing. How can I make the person be in a rush even more? After that, we have a fresh air, just bringing a little bit of brightness. Okay, like I said, I might just stop talking about the plugins I've been talking about. You know, that's just how I am. Like, I don't like to repeat stuff to y'all. You feel me? I feel like a lot of like other YouTubers and stuff like that, they just repeat the same shit over since like 5 years ago. And I'm always trying to bring new stuff to y'all. So, yeah, after that, we have a Kramer tape, putting it on slap delay. At that point, you know, that slap delay was kind of just giving a little bit of reinforcement, a little bit of hype, man. The Benny the Butcher's vocal, and I had a side chain, of course, input my key and everything like that. And then I had it on warm, which if you use the R compressor and you put it on warm, it's going to give you even more saturation as well on the output. So that's pretty dope too.
This ain't my story about rags the riches, more about how I mastered physics. In the game, I used to train like Rocky, catching chickens. I was nice, but they was right when they told me that rapper business. I had 10 bands in my stash when I passed over $500,000. Come easy, no good. Don't be surprised I last these niggas. It's like
just something to give just a little bit of slap back to Benny's vocals. After that, we had something like a Abbey Road's plate. I really like using the Abbey Road's plate specifically just because it kind of gave a little bit of that vintage tone to Benny the Butcher. So if I see a rapper that's rapping like with that J. Cole style, that kind of like that analog type of tone, you feel me? I'm going to use something like an Abbey Road's plate, you know? And I use a little bit of crosstalk because I kind of like how it brings in a little bit of wobble, a little bit of, you know, kind of like smearing, a little bit of the reverb. So yeah, that's kind of what I had right there. And the REQ2 was important as hell because, you know, all them consonas was starting to drive that plate, and it kind of really sound harsh. You know, back in the day too, another reason why those reverbs sound so great is because, you know, the signal was hitting tape right before it probably went into the reverb chamber and all that stuff like that. So for me, when I use analog reverbs, I'm always trying to like manage my high end. I did a big dip on the high end right there. I feel like the sibilance and everything like that, the S's were starting to trigger a little too much.
This ain't my story about rags the riches, more about how I mastered physics. In the game, I used to train like Rocky, catching chickens. I was nice, but they was right when they told me that rapper business. I had 10 bands in my stash when I passed over $500,000. Come easy, no good. Don't be surprised I last these niggas. It's like they put out a smash and they gone in the flash a minute. Then they make traction distance like that's gonna add up the digits. They showing fake records.
Use the Kramer tape, 7.5 IPS speed, some real lo-fi on his vocal, just to make sure that now you know, he's rapping by that gritty shit. So I'm an engineer, I gotta make the, you know, shit sound more believable, bitch. So I made a 7.5 IPS tape just to kind of degrade the reverb, make the reverb sound shitty. He talking about rats and pictures, and I was on the block and the thumb on the patch of pictures. You feel me? I'm trying to like show that the space is dirty, his lyrics are dirty, and I'm trying to recreate that environment of the ghetto that he talking about. Then we had the doubler stomp that comes free with the Waves Gold bundle. I like the doubler stomp over the doubler 2 this time just because this one's a little bit more gritty. It's actually like a guitar pedal, and that's what I was going with. Benny's vocal, a little bit of that grit, a little bit of that meanness, a little bit of that savagery, and it's less knobs than the doubler 2, so that's kind of why I went with it. And then after that, of course, we had the Ultimate Nuance booster. We used something like the 1176. The reason why 1176 is so perfect for a rapper like Benny the Butcher is because it's all about articulation. It's all about direction, pictures, the touches, the passes. You feel me? It's all about like that attitude, that little jit and wham type of attitude. Wham. Bitch, I'm Lil Baby. Bitch, I'm Benny the Butcher. You feel me? Like it's all about that whining, that complaining. So that's the thing about it. The human ear is kind of like tuned to that stuff. We already tuned to that stuff in nature. Like when we was in the village villages, we was hunting lions and shit like that. Well, not lions, but when we was hunting chickens and all that shit like that, if the baby started crying back home, our ears was already tuned to like, oh shit, my ears already tuned to that 3K, that 4K. You feel me? To hear, like, help it cut through nature. You feel me? So I could communicate with my fellow human, my fellow hunter. So that's what you gotta understand about humans. So I feel like the CLA 76 is the ultimate nuance booster because the way it adds a lot of distortion to that high mid, it helps really start to let the articulation come through. And pay attention to how just a little bit of something like the 1176 is important. When you put it on all buttons in mode, it's not just the ratio that changes, but it's also the amount of saturation that you get. You get more saturation when you put in all buttons in mode. Sometimes I put it on all buttons in mode and I don't even do no compression. I will just turn that bitch off and just use it as a saturator. You feel me? But just pay attention to how you start to hear his breaths and all that stuff like that a little bit better. Kind of like if you know, now you was really close up to Benny the Butcher and he was rapping. He was like, bro, what happened, fam? He's like, come here, nigga. So just listen to that.
In the game, I used to train like Rocky, catching chickens. I was nice, but they was right when they told me that rapper business. I had 10 bands in my stash when I passed over $500,000. Come easy, no good. Don't be surprised I last these niggas. It's like they put out a smash and they gone in the flash and minute. Then they make traction distance like that's gonna add up the digits. This ain't my story, but I raised the riches, more about how I mastered physics. In the game, I used to train like Rocky, catching chickens. I was nice, but they was right when they told me that rapper business. I had 10 bands in my stash when I passed over $500,000. Come easy, no good. Don't be surprised I outlast these niggas. It's like they put out a smash and they go in the flash and minute. Then they make traction distance like.
Okay, now last thing real quick, let's just go over the ad-libs. Just kind of had like my basic roll off the top, roll off the bottom. I feel like with Benny's ad-libs, his ad-libs are like really basic. You know, nothing too crazy, more something just like that you can't even hear. It's more like wispy, gone with the wind type of situation. So of course I used another Kramer tape, kind of gluing you know, the ad-libs to the lead vocal by using you know, the same type of tape formula. The Kramer tape has a way of making things bright too, so they still help the ad-libs just get a little bit of more saturation in that high mid, like I was talking about, that hell frequency, that baby frequency, that still makes you not lose the ad-libs altogether. Even though they're in the back, we don't want to lose them. Kind of like, even though that baby is back home at the village, we don't want to lose that baby, you feel me? So yeah, degrading the sound 7.5, doing the over bias as well, and using a lot of wow and flutter, just making things really dynamic. And also I drove the tape hard. Now I'm getting a little bit of tape distortion, a little bit of a little bit of grit, a little bit of that nastiness, a little of that disgusting, that mud all over them ad-libs. And then after that, using the just the gate just a little bit. And after that, we had a Sheps 73 on the ad-libs. So let's look.
The riches, more about how I mastered physics. In the game, I used to train like Rocky, catching chickens. I was nice, but they was right when they told me that rapper business. I had 10 bands in my stash when I passed over $500,000. Come easy, no good. Don't be surprised I outlast these niggas. It's like they put out a smash and they gone in the flash and minute. Then they make traction distance like.
So yeah, just give me some lo-fi, grungy, you know, New York type of ad-libs and everything like that. And then of course, you know, we have the H delay, you know, which is another great delay, and just the reverb behind it. Nothing complicated. That's the thing about it. Like, somebody like Benny, it's all about, like I said, keeping the focus on shit. You feel me? Like when you got a camera and you taking a picture of somebody, sometimes your iPhone might be wandering off. Like, oh, that's the thing we gotta focus on, that little bird or whatever. But no, you gotta click it, you know, and make sure that it's still focused on the main character. That's what you gotta do as an engineer too. You can't be distracting the listener all the time, you know, with like crazy ad-libs. In a situation where you got a rapper who's actually spitting some shit like Benny, is what I'm trying to say. You feel me? So this is the end of the video here today. If you guys like the template, you can check it out in the pinned comment down below. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And also, if you want to get more gems, live and excuses, don't forget to check out the Patreon. All right, just want to say thanks a lot for being a great part of my YouTube family. Appreciate y'all now. Peace.